There you are. Good morning. How you doing? Are you well? I'm well. I'm in fine fettle this morning. Had a lovely Sunday afternoon and Sunday evening yesterday. Nice and relaxing and relaxed and chilled. And I'm glad to be back with you for the first time this week. This is a nice feature, and thanks to those of you who've sent really nice and kind messages about it. I'm delighted to do it. It's good fun to do this every weekday morning. I'm just going to have a look at the front pages of the newspapers and one or two of the stories inside as well. And before I do that, actually, there are some chat messages. So let me get to a few of those because I like those as well. Hi to Jamie Williamson. How you doing, Jamie? Who says, at last, a reasonable time for us in New Zealand. Good man. Hi to Off the Grid. And hi to Stool, who says, great idea, this review of the papers. Hi to Daz, to Joe Public. Good morning, Joe. Good morning, Nat Lynch. To Octane Doctor, to Jason, to Venus Rising, to Lord Bransty, to Ketchup Mayo, to Janie Brooks, to Tracy Bell, and to Zara B. Good morning. Yeah. Just a couple of quick things to get through then. The media is obsessed with this. Donald Trump arrives in the UK for his state visit today. And yes, not the mid-morning, the early morning radio and TV shows are full of people debating whether he should be given a state visit because, well, he's a horrible old bastard and he's a misogynist and he's full of hate speech and all of that malarkey. They're expecting tens of thousands of people to protest in Trafalgar Square and elsewhere as the hairpiece gets his state visit. So he's here. I think that's a Reuters picture, a copyright breach straight off the bat this morning. That's a Reuters picture there. Copyright infringement, I should say, of Trump and his wife disembarking Air Force One. So there you are. I promise you today, there won't be very much discussion of Donald Trump's visit to the UK on the Richie Allen show. All right, I promise that. What else is in the news this morning? There's a little bit of Bilderberg. It's funny with Bilderberg. It does get a bit of coverage every year from the Daily Mail and the Express, but it usually gets coverage in the form of kind of ribbing or laughing at the protesters and the conspiracy theorists. So they do give it a little bit of coverage, the paper. There's Mike Pompeo, of course, the US Secretary of State in Switzerland, the King of, was it the King of Belgium? Was it the King of Holland? Bilderberg is a conference that you know a bit about. I don't need to tell you what it is. Tony Gosling has been in Switzerland over the last few days and he's going to bring into the show later on to talk about who was at the Bilderberg conference and what else was going on around the fringes of it. So there you go, that's Mike Pompeo. Wherever Bilderberg takes place, it is followed by protesters. Secretary Pompeo, don't lie us into war with Iran. That's very serious, obviously. Iran, many people believe, is next on the neocon agenda. And it's something we've talked a lot about on the radio show, and I suppose we'll continue to talk a lot about as the year progresses. So that's Bilderberg there. Don't lie us into war with Iran. Yeah, stop telling lies about Iran. So there you go. Let me get to one or two more comments. Get accused of neglecting the comments. Hi to Ellie Larkin. How you doing, Ellie? Hi to Stephen the Ghost. I was amazed to see a Lou Collins interview with David Icke today. Why? As far as I understand, and I've always understood, David Icke is pretty happy to talk to anybody. Hi to Chris Brown. Good morning, Richie. Just getting in. Hi to Mercy and Golden Age and to Gail as well. Luke Rutkowski from We Are Change posting videos, says Stephen. Yeah, good morning, Patrick Vidine. Luke is a very visible presence and has been for many years at Bilderberg and is a bit of an authority on the conference, as is Tony Gosling. So if you want to know more about Bilderberg, check out Luke Rutkowski. Right, we have a look at one or two of the papers then, yeah? Let's have a look at one or two of the papers then. There you go. This is your first time ever coming across me, by the way, because it might be on YouTube. My name is Richie Allen. I present a daily radio show Sunday to Thursday, live on richieallen.co.uk, triggerwarning.tv, fabradiointernational.com, on Fab Radio 2 in Manchester, and multiple other places as well, all right? It's a radio show, not in vision, it's radio, real radio, if you've come across me for the first time. We have a look at the Express then, will we? Will we stay away from politics just for a minute and have a look at the Express? Because I think this is a really important story. We must act now to beat dementia. This is the boss of the NHS telling the Daily Express that English people British people need to change our lifestyles, because if we don't, we're more susceptible to dementia. It's a dementia time bomb. Right, let me read a bit of that. And I hope by reading a bit of it now, I'm not gone off screen. I don't know how this works, right? I've had Graham and Hayden coaching me again this morning, two legends there, triggerwarning.tv. Check those guys out. But this is the NHS calling on people to make 8 simple lifestyle changes to cut their risk of developing dementia. They're saying that because the population is aging, we're living longer. The number of people living with the condition is expected to rise to 1 million within 2 years. Now, if you think the population of the country is somewhere between 60 and 65 million people, for 1 million people to be living with dementia, that's very serious. And you might be entitled to think to yourself, well, something is up. I think something is up. And I know that some of my aforementioned friends and colleagues, they don't agree with any of this. But I think it's what they're not talking about today in this story that's really interesting. So they're talking about making 8 simple lifestyle changes. At the moment, there's 850,000 people living with dementia in the UK. That's staggering. That really is. Dementia, memory loss, confusion, problems with speech and understanding. But Alistair Burns, the clinical director for NHS England, said lifestyle changes like maintaining a healthy diet, keeping below your keeping within your recommended BMI, body mass index, so keeping at a healthy weight, exercising, stopping smoking, and not drinking too much alcohol. They're putting these things down to the explosion in dementia in the United Kingdom. And one of the things they're not talking about, and one of the things they'll never talk about, is aluminium and the exposure to aluminium and other heavy metals in the atmosphere. And why do I mention aluminium? Well, you will know if you follow my radio show, but if you read the papers in general, that academics in this country have been talking about the collapse of bee colonies in the UK, but also the unprecedented incidence of bees falling victim to dementia, and then studies being done on those bees, and those studies showing that the bees had very, very high levels of aluminium in their systems. Quite extraordinary, really. Where could it be coming from? Well, maybe that's where it's coming from. I mentioned my pals, Hayden Hewitt and Graham. I can't speak for Graham, but I know Hayden Hewitt doesn't buy this particular conspiracy theory. But those are not jet contrails, which is jet engine water vapour lingering in the sky. Again, I won't labour this particular point because it's a subject that's been covered many times on the Richie Allen radio show, and it's a subject that I'll be revisiting again and again and again in the future. I reckon that doctors opining on why people are getting dementia are not necessarily cover-up merchants or system-serving shills. They just don't know any better. They know what they're told to know, and they say what they're told to say. But I reckon that the explosion in dementia, in incidence of dementia, and the fact that 1 million people in this country are expected to be coping with it and needing treatment for it, is not down to being overweight, smoking, and a bad diet. I'm not saying those things are good things, but there you are. So that's that story. Right, shall we look at another newspaper then today? That was the Daily Express. Very interesting story, that. What have we got in The Guardian today? Well, it's about Trump in The Guardian. And there's also a story on the front page about sexism in the Labour Party and a call for the Labour Party to disown a candidate for a by-election who has been accused of sexual harassment. But as I said, it's Trump. Trump arrives amid rising anger at US trade demands. Now, Woody Johnson, I was going to play this yesterday on Sunday View. I'll play it later on, the audio. I ran out of time on Sunday View yesterday. The US ambassador to the Court of St. James, to the US ambassador to the UK, it's a guy called Woody Johnson, of course. And he was on the Andrew Marr show yesterday. And Marr got him to acknowledge that in any future trade deal between the UK and the US, the healthcare would be on the table. In other words, opening up the UK to US healthcare giants who would want, to bid for NHS contracts. And this is causing a bit of a furore today, as well it might. And I will talk about it on the Richie Allen show a little bit later on. And there's a lovely picture there of the Liverpool football team returning home from Madrid with the European Cup. Jesus, Mary and Joseph, let's get rid of that. So that's The Guardian today. What else have we got? Got all the papers here. What's in the I newspaper? Let's have a look at that. Can we do that in the I paper? No? We can't, because it's a GIF. Is that what it's telling me? I can't look at the I, can I not? All right. Let's get rid of that. Let's get rid of that. Let's have a look at the Daily Mail then. Tories Huawei deal warning. Well, this is about the trade war, or the alleged trade war between Donald Trump between the United States and China. And it's about the UK plans to involve the Chinese tech firm Huawei in part using the company to do some of the work in rolling out 5G in the UK, which is obviously very controversial. And I've talked about quite a bit, again, on the Richie Allen show. Incidentally, if you want another perspective on 5G, Hayden did a video for triggerwarning.tv, which is on YouTube. If you want to get a different opinion. I haven't watched that video yet. I'm planning to watch it later on. So I don't know really what Hayden said, but I'm guessing it's a different take on what I've been saying about 5G. Excuse me, and my guests. Trump flies in for a state visit. Two leadership hopefuls sound alarm over plan to hand huge technology contract to the Chinese. But there's apparently been a bit of backtracking on that by the Conservative Party. This resulted in the sacking of the former Defence Secretary Gavin Williamson, didn't it? This whole story about giving Huawei a contract to help with the 5G rollout. There was a leak to the Telegraph newspaper, if I remember, and Williamson was blamed for it without any evidence, and he was fired. Anyway, don't weep for Gavin Williamson. I certainly won't. So that's Huawei. Jeremy Hunt is talking about this today, and I can bring you some of that, I think. At least I can bring you some. I can bring you the article, can I? I can. So Hunt is basically saying, he's the Foreign Secretary, Jeremy Hunt, and he's saying that the UK is not going to let this Huawei contracts thing get in the way of the special relationship, which is a monumental load of bollocks. So Trump has arrived, of course, saying that there. Woody Johnson, the ambassador yesterday, said that the future of US-UK intelligence sharing was to be determined if Britain went ahead with a plan to allow Huawei to bid for 5G contracts. This is all hyperbole, really, from Trump and his ambassador, saying that any trade deal might be at risk, but not just trade, intelligence sharing in the future might be at risk if the UK was to persevere and push forward with using Huawei. Yeah, get rid of that, shall we? Just get rid of that there. Let me go back to the comments, because I don't want to neglect the comments. Let me do that now, so forgive me for Putting my eyes down there. Let me have a look. Got to scroll back, you see. Thanks to Jedi Sage Monk for sending £5 to the show. $5. Thank you very much, mate. I really mean that. I'm thrilled with it. I don't know what to say when people send donations. I do email people and thank them for it. I'm very much humbled by that. I really appreciate it. So thank you. Venus Rising says Kushner, as in Jared Kushner, was also at Bilderberg. Indeed, he was. Thanks for that. Hi to Charlotte Binns. How you doing, Charlotte? Hi for Help Animals. Hi for Strip Bear. Hi to Strip Bear even. Hi to 26, who says good morning. Finally a chance to type to Richie. Rob Monty says nice work, Richie. I'm 50 years old and can remember local TV and reporting with morals. If only a few more journalists weren't so afraid to speak sense. Thanks for some vaccine truth, he says. Well, look, I don't really tell the truth. I'm not saying that I tell lies. I certainly don't tell lies. What I do is I give a platform in a small way to people who've got something different to say. People who are precluded from appearing on the mainstream media. That's all I do. So quite a number of you have been sending messages about aluminium. You believe strongly and passionately that aluminium and exposure to aluminium is playing a part in the elevated levels of dementia among people. I know a number of you are there. Massive thanks to Galena, who sent on Super Chat 200. Is it rubles? Thanks a million, Galena. It's an amazing thing. I'm really, really, again, chuffed to bits with that. Thanks for supporting the programme. Those donations go a long way and help keep the radio show on air 5 days a week. So thanks a million for that. I really appreciate it. I really do, you know. So thank you again. I'm chuffed. Galena went on to say, the chemtrail program is sponsored by the UN. I see this shit even in Russia. I saw it in Estonia, in Finland, in Quebec, in France. I do not doubt that aluminium particulates are part of Agenda 21. And I really believe that. You know, because of my mainstream background, my commercial and national media background, people sometimes find it hard to understand that. Because I do so much mainstream news in the shows as well as, you know, alternative news. I do believe it. I believe it 100%, and that's it really. Hi to Graham Booth, my pal, who I mentioned earlier on. It's Graham. I don't know what Graham is talking. You might be talking about 5G there, Graham. You're talking to somebody else there. Steve Bennett says CIA and MI6 have collaborated for years. 26 says Richie talked to somebody about cannabis. Ellie Larkin says spray deodorant is full of aluminium. Yeah, I have no doubt that's true as well. Right, let's go back to the papers. Let's have a look at... Did I do the Metro? Did I do the Metro? The Metro. Donald Trump. I never called Meghan nasty. This is a nonsense. It's a nonsense. It was put to Trump in an interview that he did with The Sun and an interview he did with The Times. Comments were put to Trump, allegedly made by this woman, Meghan Markle. And allegedly Trump said, I didn't know she was nasty, but nobody cares. That's in the Metro. That's just nonsense, really. Did we do the Mirror? Did we? I'm not sure. Let me have a look. I'm pretty slow at doing this, at bringing the images in, but I'll get better at it. Oh, this is important. This is important. Let's have a look at this for a minute. Strictly offensive. So it's pretty self-explanatory what's going on there. It's about Anne Widdecombe, whom for many years was a Conservative Party MP. She was also a government minister. And since leaving politics, Anne has been on some reality television shows. I put my hands up. I've known Anne Widdecombe for many years. And I've always found her to be, as I said on Twitter yesterday, a good old egg, a good constituency politician. And despite everything I've ever said about politics and the futility of it and voting, along the way over the years, I've met one or two people that I've enjoyed speaking with and whose company I've enjoyed. And Anne Widdecombe is one of those, even though politically and, you know, in terms of having opinions, we couldn't be further apart. But I like the woman. I like the sincerity of the woman. Well, she did an interview on Sophie Ridge on Sunday, yesterday morning, but Sophie Ridge was away. It was with Neil Patterson. And I brought you some of the interview on Sunday View, didn't I? And in the interview, Patterson said, how could the Brexit Party ever put together a manifesto? You're all so different. And then he pushed that theme a bit further. And he said, basically, some people in the party might have a difficulty standing on a platform with you, Anne, because of your conservative views about homosexuality. And they got into that again, that old chestnut. So there you are. That's it, basically. Anne has said in the past that she supported the notion of conversion therapy for gays and lesbians, which I think is preposterous. But she doesn't, she believes it. And I've never believed that somebody like Anne Widdecombe holding that opinion could ever really do any harm or hurt anybody. And I've said this to my gay mates. I said, do you feel harmed in any way when somebody like Anne or Christian Concern says that you can be cured, mate? And my gay mates have gone, I couldn't give a shit, Richie. And I've said, exactly. It's their opinions, right? So she's getting a bit of stick, Anne. And unsurprisingly, let me bring it up, some of that stick has come from a woman called, drumroll, woman called Stella Creasy. Pictured here. Stella Creasy is a Labour Party MP based in Walthamstow. And I don't like Stella Creasy very much. I've had a couple of Twitter exchanges with her in the last 6 or 8 months. To give her credit, because you must give people credit, Stella Creasy doesn't block people. At least she hasn't blocked me anyway. But then again, I've not said anything that would be personal. I've called her vile. Maybe that's a bit over the top. Maybe I shouldn't say vile. But I'll tell you why I called her vile. So Creasy, being the progressive, momentum obsessed person that she is. Now, Creasy is behind a new bill that would make misogyny a hate crime, and that if a man was to commit a crime against a woman and a judge, a magistrated judge, was to determine that the crime was motivated by misogyny, a new hate crime, it could result in an increased sentence for the convicted. There's a million things wrong with that, but I'm not going to get into it. So Creasy was never going to miss a chance to go after Anne Widdecombe yesterday. And this is what I don't like. Of course, the question is, will science ever come up with an answer to the question of Anne Widdecombe's remit? That's not very funny. That seems much more pressing if we want to protect society from such horrors. And that's important. To protect society from such horrors. We need to protect society from the horror of learning that Anne Widdecombe thinks that maybe one day science will come up with an answer as to why some people are gay and some people are not. Because that's basically what Widdecombe said to Neil Patterson yesterday. We need to protect society from the horror of discovering that there are conservative Christian people who think that gays and lesbians can be converted. We need to protect society from such horrors. Now again, I'm sure you'll know a gay or lesbian man or woman. Please ask them to have a look at Anne Widdecombe's comments. And then ask them, do you think that you need to be protected from reading that? And I guarantee you that 9 out of every 10 LGBTQ plus person survey will go, fuck off. I couldn't give an arse. And that's true. Couldn't give an arse. Couldn't give an arse, Richie. But this is gathering momentum, no pun intended, all the time. This movement towards deplatforming, obliterating from your field of vision something that this progressive agenda has deemed to be unsavory or unpalatable. So I had to weigh in on that because it really does piss me off. That's why I weighed in. Maybe I shouldn't use words like vile, but she is vile, Creasy. It's vile. It's a vile thing. Nobody needs to be protected from anybody else's opinions or points of view or views on the world. And it is Orwellian in the extreme to say we have to protect society from how other people feel and think about things. You know? And I don't have to agree with Anne Widdecombe to adopt that stance. I don't agree with Anne. I think gays and lesbians are gays and lesbians from the time they are born. I really do. And I know a lot of my listeners and viewers won't agree with that. But we're not going to fall out. We're not going to scream at one another. We're just going to talk about it. Because I've invited people on the programme who do believe that homosexuality is a learned behaviour. So I talk to anybody. But I won't ban them. So, there you go. So, Creasy didn't like that. She doesn't understand how Twitter works. Given you've copied, I didn't copy her into any rant. I retweeted what she said. Basically, I don't have any manners. And if I must be a public schoolboy and call me Creasy, it's Dr. Creasy to you, sir. And then I love this. Hashtag no shit-taking MP. But that's bullshit. Because if Creasy has her way, people like me with my opinions on the state of Israel and the political ideology of Zionism won't be allowed on Twitter. I won't be allowed on Facebook to talk about my opinions, which are my opinions. So don't give me that no shit-taking MP. You want to create a world where nobody has to take any shit, where nobody has to listen to or see or come across anything which they are terrified by or don't like or are against. These are dangerous people. These are very dangerous people. And I say this over and over again. There is little or no pushback against her and her ilk in the media. They don't want to take it on. They don't want to go after her. Nobody wants to take it on lest they be deplatformed themselves. You know? I wish just one of them would say, what do you mean protect society from Anne Widdecombe? Society doesn't need to be protected from Anne Widdecombe or Anne's ideas. That was Creasy yesterday. Of course, all these people have been invited on the Richie Allen radio show, but they always come back and say no, because you had Alison Chablo on the programme. I did. And I'll have her on again. And I will argue with her again. And people with opinions like hers. What's in the Telegraph? The Huawei story, I just got into it, so I won't get into it again. The Trump visit. There's also a story about Boris Johnson, who has allegedly pledged to, as his first manifesto promise, if he's elected as the Conservative Party leader and the Prime Minister, he's going to raise the spending on every pupil in the country to £5,000. Only £200 more per pupil than has been promised by Theresa May, but it's in the Telegraph anyway. The Telegraph is subscription, sadly. I do subscribe, and I do subscribe to the Times for the radio programme. So if you want to read those stories, you've got to give them a couple of bob. And this might really piss you off, but I do support and endorse their right to ask for subscriptions. It's not a good thing if we lose the media. Let me read a few more comments then. Let me go back. Hi to C. McGee for donating £5 to the programme. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. I really do. Thank you a million. Thanks a million for that. Hi to Gabriel Swift, who says Brexit now. Hi to Hanafi, who says they will destroy all Brexit politicians. This is the usual plan. And hi to Free Energy was here, who sent £5 to the programme as well. Thank you so much, Free Energy was here. That means a lot to me. And to Jamie in New Zealand for 20 New Zealand dollars. I really am chuffed to bits with that. And to all the O's to Oo, who sent me a £2 donation as well. That means a lot to me as well. Thank you so much indeed. Hi to Millie M. I don't believe that the papers represent the views of the people in this country, says Millie. No, they don't. But it's important to always keep an eye and an ear on what the media is saying and what it is reporting on, but also what it is not reporting on, right? I believe, anyway. Do you regret calling her a fascist, Richie? Says Patrick Vidine. I don't regret calling Stella Creasy a fascist because she advocates fascism. That is fascism. Look at the definition of fascism. She advocates fascism. She advocates silencing somebody, ostracizing somebody, deplatforming, shutting them down, making them invisible, sending them to Coventry, whatever you want to use, because of what they think and what they feel. She wants to homogenize public discourse. You can't homogenize public discourse, Patrick. You must accept that you are living in a world with people who think differently than you. And you can't change that. And I'm not having a go at you, Patrick. I'm having a go at her. We have to accept that there are people in the world who have racist points of view. We have to accept that there are people in the world who don't like gays and lesbians. What are you going to do about them? Are you going to say that they don't deserve a place in society because of their opinions? Because of how they feel? Are we going to send them to re-education classes? I said this to Peter Tatchell. No, you're going to ignore them. You're going to ignore them and you're going to learn to live like we've done for centuries with the fact that there are people who hold views that we oppose. So either debate those people, Stella Creasy, or fuck off and shut up. It's as simple as that. Debate them. Show some balls. Come on radio shows like this, where I have never been anything but polite to the people I disagree with, and tell me why the public needs protecting from Anne Widdecombe. But you won't fucking do it, because you can't. And I, doctor this, my arse, I've got qualifications coming out of my backside. I just dropped one now. Alright? There's nothing intellectual about deplatforming people and saying that we got to protect people from seeing this. From seeing what? Anne Widdecombe saying science hasn't yet figured out why people are gay. Oh my God. Oh, LGBT people melting down all over the world. No, they couldn't care less. Why would they? It drives me mad, that. Drives me mad. You know what drives me mad? It's not even Creasy. It's all the morons on Twitter who weigh in behind her. All the virtue signalers. All the losers. The lost souls. The nobodies. Pathetic people with no spine. Ooh, here's an opportunity to signal a bit of virtue. To get a bit of social credit. I'll weigh in with Creasy. And then they send me tweets calling me a Holocaust denier and all that bollocks. Because truth and facts don't matter anymore. Don't matter. Go on Twitter now and libel somebody. Of course, it's easy to libel somebody when you don't have any money. But to those losers who tweet me calling me a Holocaust denier, and they can do that because they don't have any money. Because believe me, if you had any money, I would take your fucking underpants away from you. Remember, I'm the guy who contacted the Campaign Against Anti-Semitism 2 years ago and said you're getting that close to accusing me of saying that Jews weren't killed in great numbers in Nazi Germany. Please do it publicly. Please. Because if you do it publicly, the first thing I'm going to do is call a solicitor. And their sphincters shrank and they went away. Easy to libel somebody when you don't have any money, isn't it? Not so easy to do when you do have money. Right, shall we move on? Pisses me off, that. What's in the Sun? Worst newspaper in the world. The Huawei story again. It's my way or Huawei. Spy pact warning on Chinese tech. Yeah, we won't share intelligence. This is again to do with Woody Johnson, the ambassador's appearance on the Andrew Marr show yesterday. So let's just get rid of that. And what's in the Times? We're running now. We're rushing to the end of the programme. I want to keep this to a half an hour every day. Michael Gove has been threatening to delay Brexit till the end of 2020. This is true. He's been saying this, and this was widely reported in the broadsheet media yesterday, if he wins the leadership contest. But apparently he's been told, don't be silly. He said he would do that in order to prevent Jeremy Corbyn leading the next government. That's what Gove said. That I would assuage the fears of the Remoaners by saying, look, we'll hang around till the end of 2020. But he's been told today by confidants and aides that if he does adopt that position, his worst fears will come true. So Gove said, I'll delay just to stop Corbyn getting into number 10. But his aides have said, well, if you do delay, Corbyn will get into number 10. So there you are. Leadership contest will ramp up over the next couple of weeks. And in about 6 weeks' time, you'll have a new Prime Minister. And don't whinge about the Prime Minister not being elected. You don't elect the Prime Minister anyway. Prime Minister, you don't choose the Prime Minister. Here's a story. I'm going to rush through this. I'll try and read a few tweets, a few messages then. Transgender murderer 23 is moved back to all-male jail after romping with a naked female inmate weeks after being moved to women's prison. Yeah, we've heard this before, haven't we? So a transgender person, Kaylee Woods, requested to be moved to a women-only prison. He or she or whatever took part in a heinous murder where a girl was tied up, tortured, and had her throat slashed. There's the girl there in the inset there, the girl who was murdered. So she got her wish and she was moved to a women-only prison. And she or he or whatever the fuck has been having sex with a naked female inmate, maybe a vulnerable female inmate. So has been moved back to an all-male jail. This is a big issue, this. This is the person, Kaylee. If that's a woman, I'm a Chinaman. It's not a woman. We all remember this person. Remember this person, Karen White, who, massive scandal, was a sex offender, then identified as a woman, changed name to Karen White, was sent to a female prison and sexually assaulted 4 female prisoners before being taken out and sent back to a male prison. Safeguarding issues. Massive story this. I'm going to get back into this on the Richie Allen radio show really soon. So there you go. That's about it for the papers this morning. Look how far over I've gone. I don't want to be going over. Let me read a few comments and then I'm going to go and get ready for the radio show at 5 o'clock today. Number of you are asking questions about Holocaust in Ireland getting locked up for it. Thanks for that. Yeah, I don't agree with people being prosecuted for saying that they don't believe that Jews were murdered in Nazi Germany. Why the need to prosecute people and lock them up for stuff like that? Surely you just ignore them. Hi to Kevin Hansen, to Glenn Samuel, to People's Poet, and to Peter Rouse, and to everybody else who sent a message today, and to everybody else for watching, and to those who sent a donation via Super Chat. I'm really thrilled with that. You've no idea. So thank you so much for watching this today. Join me live at 5 o'clock for the Richie Allen radio show. Now, Barry Trower, former UK naval weapons expert and expert on all things electromagnetic and non-ionizing radiation and all the rest of it. Barry is on the programme in the second hour and he wants to do it as a Q&A. So if you've got a question about 5G, and this is really important, you get your chance today. Any question at all about 5G technology and where we're going with it, and you want Barry Trower to answer it, get on Twitter and tweet the programme during the live show today, and I will put your comments to Barry. And Tony Gosling will be on the programme as well. I'm really looking forward to Tony Gosling coming on the programme. He's been in Switzerland at Bilderberg, and I'm sure he'll have plenty to tell us, so don't miss that. All right? So until 5 o'clock, it's pretty much goodbye from me, and thanks again for watching. This is as amateur as it gets, right? Right. Okay. See you at 5.